Hello, thanks for being here. My name is Oleg, and I will be talking about several different topics today. Um, First, we'll cover the forms situation, and I'll show you how you can deal with forms. A lot of times we get forms in a scanned as a scanned document, basically. In other words, we get something somebody threw together on in a word processing document, and then they printed whatever, made zillion copies of it, so a copy of a copy of a copy, and then of course it gets faxed to you as something you need to fill out. And the problem with this kind of approach is, even though people now understand what PDFs are, and they try to make PDFs to be kind of the norm of exchange of documents, at least for many people, and that's definitely what I recommend, because when you start dealing with Word documents and different things like that, you have different versions of Office. You have some people who don't use Office at all, like yours truly here. I pretty much stick to Google Docs, and you have all kinds of incompatibilities. So when you're using PDFs, it makes life much easier, because everybody pretty much has access to a PDF reader. There's tons of them out there. Google Docs supports it natively, so you can easily take any file basically you have on in your Google ecosystem, and you can download it as a PDF, and it automatically will convert it for you and make it a nice PDF. So, and there's all kinds of different utilities and programs, including the main original one, which is Adobe Acrobat, which allows you to create PDFs. And one of the things that Adobe Acrobat allows you to do is actually create forms within the PDF that people can fill out. You actually have, it looks like a form. You can go in, type the answers, and then print it or email it or do different things with it. But a lot of times, for most, at least most businesses I've dealt with, they don't get into that level of sophistication, mostly because most of the PDF software that's out there is mostly for viewing, maybe doing a little annotation, but mostly it's just for viewing PDFs and printing PDFs, things like that, not for dealing with forms. And so people wind up just making copies of something that's supposed to be a form, and then they quote unquote fax it to you, or they email it to you, or things like that. So let's start with that. I'm going to go ahead and jump into my Google Space here. By the way, if you're not on Google Space and you're watching this, by all means join the Google Space that I linked in the event page, and then we can exchange information. You can ask questions, different things. So we'll go over the Google Space setup shortly, but let's talk about this PDF thing. So I have this sample thing that I just got the other day. I'll show it to you. It looks something like this. So it's just a IRS a form that has some information, has some boxes that need to be filled out. This had came from a gentleman that did my taxes this year, and he wanted me to put a signature. So that's one thing people a lot of times require. And also he wanted me, and I'll show you, he didn't want me to, but I'll put in some examples of how to actually fill in the form. And so what I'm going to do here is, form itself looks like this. I mean, I can't do any selections here. As you can see, if I scroll and drag, nothing happens. It doesn't select anything because it's a graphical PDF. In other words, it's just a scanned file, essentially. It's a graphic file. It's not a text file. And all the text you see here is nothing more than just pixels, okay? And that means that I can't type anything here. I can click in there, but, I try typing anything or anything, it doesn't do anything. I can't type anywhere here. And so a lot of times what people wind up doing is they wind up printing, they get it via email, like I got this one, then they wind up printing it, and then they sign and fill in whatever they need to fill in. Then they need to go back and scan it if they want to email it. They scan it, and then they email it back. Or if they want to fax it, they can fax it using the piece of paper. It's a lot of hassle, and you really don't need to go through all of that if you don't want to, if you want to keep everything nice and digital, which would be my recommendation. So what do I do with this thing now that I got it? Well, one of the things I can do, if I just simply open it, it comes up with the PDF reader, which is standard Google PDF reader, which allows me to print it right here in the top right corner, allows me to download it, and allows me to do some of the typical Google Docs things like share it and You can put a star on it, rename it, things like that. Okay. None of these options are useful for me because I'm trying to just get the information into the form, and then I'm going to go ahead and send that information back to the person who requested it from me. That's the whole idea, without doing any printing, without doing any scanning. Okay. So how do we go about doing that? Well, one of the things that you have is at the top here, you have a option, a pull down that says open with. And so if you click on that, it gives you several choices depending what you connect it to. But the main thing that I'm going to show you today is called DocHub, DOCHUB. And as you can see, it's an application that's available through Google Marketplace for the Google apps. It has two different variants. It's what they call a freemium model, meaning you can get it and use it to some degree for free. And then if you want to have more options and capabilities, then you have to pay for it. The software itself, I mean, this application itself is really well done. I play with it a little bit. I mean, it's a very nice application. And the cost is very minimal. It's like $5 a month. I think it's like $50 a year. So it's a pretty small amount of money that you pay if you're going to be using this a lot. And you can do a lot more with this than what I'm just going to show you. But it's a definitely worthwhile app to get into. And you can certainly sign up and connect to it through Google Docs without signing up for anything or paying anything, just to play with and try it out. So I'm going to go ahead and say open with, and I'm going to select this DocHub option. And what's going to happen next is going to open in their interface. As you can see, it's just, you don't have to do anything special, it just does it. Now, for some of you that are trying it for the first time, take any PDF you want, it's going to ask you for permissions, the usual Google authorization permissions. So just give it the permissions. And then in my case, I already opened this file before, because what it does, it ties my PDF on my end to the actual file that they store on their end. And it says create duplicate. I don't want to create duplicate. I just want to open the existing one. So the first time you do it, it's not going to ask you for any duplicates. You're just going to create the file in their format. What's happening right now is it's actually creating the same file on the DocHub end, and it's giving it pretty much the same name and everything, but it's doing it on their end. So you essentially wind up having a copy on DocHub of this PDF, example PDF, or whatever your PDF is. Okay. And by the way, the free model allows you to do up to 5, I believe. Yeah, it's 5 PDF documents per month that you can use for free. And so for people who hardly use it at all, they don't have to pay anything, and you get the features. For people who use it, it's $5 a month, totally worth it in my view. Okay, so you have, I'm not going to go. This is not a training deal on DocHub. I'll just quickly go over it without going into details. You can see you can zoom things in and out, which is convenient when you're working with stuff. You've got a menu that allows you to see all the pages. Right now, there's only one. Otherwise, you'd see a list of all the pages here. You can easily jump to a particular page by selecting it. You can manage fields. I don't even know when you use the fields. It must be something to do with like mail merge or something. So we'll skip that for now. I haven't done that at all. You have ability to print it. You have ability to undo, redo your operations. You can put some text, like annotations, for example. You can also use the draw tool and do some drawing here like that. You can also highlight stuff. So you can highlight, for example, the text file can only be used on embedded text. Okay, because it's a graphic, it can't do embedded text. Okay. So if I do a highlight box, let me see if I can do that. Yeah, see, I can do it. So they have an option called highlight box as opposed to highlight text. So highlight text only works for text. And of course, it's a graphic document, so I can't do that. But as you can see here, you can highlight using the box option. So that's pretty cool if you need to be able to do that. You can have some comments in here, just a little balloon. You just stick it in there and drag it, put it wherever you want to put it, so you can have some comments to go with that particular piece of the PDF. Then another nice thing, they have this whiteout tool, and whiteout allows you to take, as you can imagine, any part of the document and just white it out by just drawing a box around it. So I can go like this and makes a box, and then I can actually stretch this box to be bigger or smaller. And then if I just jump out here, you can see it winds up being whited out. And of course, I can move this area anywhere I want. I can change it, do whatever. So a useful, very useful thing if you wanted to take, let's say I wanted to take my wife's name and erase it from here. All I have to do is just draw a box like this, and voila, her name is gone. Okay, and then of course you can put something else on top of it. So the bottom line is, nice basic set of tools. You also have some stamps you can use. So if you want to drop a star, for example, to indicate to people where they should sign or something like that, you can do things like that, or any of the other little stamp things they have, like the check boxes and arrows, which would be pretty useful, things like that. Okay, and of course you can delete any of this stuff, so you can work with as much or as little as you want. So that's this doc hub, and you can even, looks like, insert images, and we'll go over the sign thing in a minute. So in our case, what I wanted to show you was, let's say that I wanted to put on this particular form, I wanted to add some text to it, right, to fill in the actual form elements. And so by using this text tool, which allows you to put some text anywhere you want, I can actually fill out, make it look like I'm filling out the form. So for example, let's say over here is a social security number. All I have to do is drop a box in here with this text tool and type in my social security number. Okay, obviously it's bogus, but you get the idea. And then I can, of course, reposition it anywhere I want, right? And then the end result, as you can see, it looks like a field that normally is typed in on the form gets filled out. I mean, it's as simple as that. It's not anything complicated. You just simply use the text tool to drop the contents of the actual form that you need to put in. You simply enter it and put it wherever information needs to go. That's where you put it. I mean, it's as simple as that. And that way, it makes it look like you're filling out the form. Obviously, if you're doing this a lot, and you have a lot of forms to fill out, and they all are the same, you're just putting in, it's doing like data entry, this is not a good approach, because this is way too awkward. It will take much longer than using a regular form. In that case, you definitely want to set up a form. And of course, you don't have to use a PDF form. You could set up, like Google Forms from Google Apps, and that's going to take care of what needs to be done. So back to my usual mantra about the fact that you do not use the wrong tools for the job. Don't just use PDF forms because they're called that. Use them when it makes sense. And so most of the time nowadays, you can easily get away with using regular Google Forms. But if you happen to, for whatever reason, maybe it's part of your job from legal standpoint, you have to fill out certain certain PDF forms, then I'd recommend setting it up as such, if you're filling out a lot of them, and setting it up so it's actually a PDF form, and then you're able to fill it out normally. But if you have these occasional things that come in like this one, where you need to enter some information into it's like a form, but it's really just a graphic file, then this works really well. You simply open it in DocHub, then you select the text tool and drop it wherever you want to drop it. And of course, you can, you don't have to be precise. I can go ahead and do the same thing. I'll just go ahead and select text tool and put in another social security number. I'll put in 6439267, whatever. I can drop it in the middle of text here, and then simply adjust it and put it up here. And you can see it shows me a line, so I can easily align it together. Looks like this. And also they give you controls where you can see where the line goes, basically, to make it so it's nice and aligned and everything else. So again, the bottom line is very simple. You have a PDF that's not a normal form, but you need to enter some information on it. You open it with DocHub, then you go in, use the text tool, drop the text you need, whatever you want, and you're almost done. You're not quite done, but almost done. The other thing that you might want to do, like in this particular case, is, Harvey asked me to go ahead and actually put in my signature here. So for that, these same DocHub people allow you to set up a signature using the sign tool, as they call it. And you can create one, or you can manage signatures that if you have multiple ones, so you can actually have multiple ones. And you can upload, they give you an option to upload as part of the create signature, upload a new signature. So in my case, I already uploaded it, and there it is. All I have to do is simply select it and simply drag it to where where I need to put it. And as you can see, it's a little bit on the dinky side. So what I can do here is simply use this expansion tool to make it bigger. And let's say they wanted to make it this big, so it looks like I'm sloppily signing. And if I click out of it here, come on. It looks something like this. So obviously you don't want the box to be, concealing anything else. So you kind of want to make it so it's more appropriate for the size of the area there. So maybe something like that. Something like that. Okay, you get the idea. It's my signature, and you can change the size however you want, and you can upload multiple signatures, and that's as easy as that, to just drop your own signature directly into a particular document. So that's the part about making entries, and then potentially annotating some things. If you're dealing with people that use the same capability, you can even put in these comments, things like that, so they can see it. So pretty handy. When you get done, here's what's going to happen. If I simply close this, okay, if I simply close this, what's going to happen is I'm going to be right back to where I was here. I'll just close this for a second. And I'm going to show you, if I go back to the form, I'm just opening the form fresh. Notice that it doesn't have anything at all of what I did, which of course is a problem because we want this stuff on there. So if I go back and say open with DocHub, like we did the first time, you will see that it opens it. And once it loads the document, open existing, you will notice that all the changes are made right there. There's my numbers, there's my highlighting, comment, everything is there. So in other words, it stores it on its own end, but it doesn't really do us much good unless we continuously go with their interface. I want to be able to make these changes, and I want to be able to open it directly from my Google Drive most of the time. I don't want to be jumping back into DocHub, right? So the way you do that is very simple. You simply go and pull down the file menu here on the right side, and there's a bunch of different things you can do. One of which is, send email, share link. I mean, there's a bunch of different things you can do. You can check it out. You can make copies, rotate pages, usual PDF stuff. But one of the things you've got is download, and you can download it by saying save as, or just save to Google Drive, which is what I'm going to do. Once I select the save to Google Drive, it says saving to Google Drive, and then it says show in Drive. So let's look at it in Drive. It's going to open up my Google Drive. It's going to show me the PDF here shortly. Right there, PDF example. And now if I open this, let's go ahead and open it. Then notice that right now I actually have my signature in place. I have the social security number. In other words, it's the copy after I made all the changes. Okay, so that's exactly how easy it is to simply save it to Google Drive. And of course, I can still go back to DocHub and add more changes, things like that. But in the end, you just simply want to save it to Google Drive, and it's going to go ahead and overwrite your existing Google Drive copy with all the changes in place. Okay, and now I can email it, I can print it, I can do whatever I want directly from the Google Drive interface without going necessarily anywhere else. Okay, so if you have any questions, drop it in the space, please. I'll answer them later. That's pretty much all I wanted to show you about the forms. And now let's move on to the next step. Let me close this and jump back to the space here. And we'll go to Gina's segment. Excellent. We'll go to Gina's segment. So I'm going to pull up my Prisma deal. Okay, so Prisma is something Gina Fidel asked me because she wasn't sure about the details of it. So I thought I'd do a little segment because there's a number of people that may not know what Prisma is. The word Prisma in Russian actually means prism. It's the same thing as it's done by a Russian company. And these people came out with this thing initially for iOS, and then relatively quickly they came out for Android, although the Android version was kind of semi-screwed up for a while. But now they finally got it figured out. But it was amazing to see this program, which is basically a filter photo manipulation program. You apply certain filters to your photos, and then it does its magic, and then shows you the result. I mean, nothing that complicated in terms of the concept, but the results were, nothing short of spectacular in many cases, which is just like, wow. You look at the stuff and it's like major eye candy. And so when we finally got an Android and I got it installed, I started playing with it. And I'm just going to go through quickly for people who may not know it or don't know all the features. And mostly, like I said, I wanted to do this for Gina because she wanted to know what it is and how it works, because I showed her some pictures I've done with it. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and just start the show and show you how this thing works. So the basic interface, this is all the pictures you see now. It's a mobile app. So it works. It doesn't work on the desktop. It works on the on your tablet or on your phone, even better. And so initially, like over here, you're looking at the at my Android screen, my homepage on the Android or home screen, I should say. And you can see right there, the icon looks like this and it says Prisma, and you click on it to run it. I mean, that's pretty straightforward. Then you get something interface looks like this, which is pretty minimal. The picture here, don't get scared. That's just a couple of my fingers being right in front of the camera, because on my LG G3 phone, to be able to take a screenshot, you basically have to push a couple of buttons on the back, which are right where the camera is. And so you wind up concealing the camera with your fingers to be able to do it. And so because of this, you see my fingers here. This is not some creative shot or anything. But the interface is pretty simple. Down here, you have the ability to turn on and off flash, automatic or off or on, usual deal with camera applications. You have a little, what looks like I don't know, it's supposed to be like a camera. It looks like a little briefcase that allows you to basically flip between the front and rear cameras on your phone. And then you have some settings, which we'll go over at the end in terms of settings you can do. Then you have the big button here, which is the button that allows you to actually take a photo, whatever the camera is pointing to. And then you can also pull in photos to work from your gallery. So you can use an existing photo to pull in and work on. You don't necessarily have to take a brand new photo just to be able to work with this. Okay? So that's the basic interface to start with. Once you take a photo, like I took a photo of a wall, it winds up taking it. The resolution here is 608 by 608 pixels. It just automatically does it. They initially, well, not initially, even now, it's set up to work with mostly Instagram. So the idea is you're taking these round pictures in terms of ratio, so the same width, the same height, and then you can easily post them to Instagram, and we'll go over that in a minute. But that's basically what's the intent. Is essentially it's an application that allows you to beautify your Instagram postings. Okay, so you create a picture that looks like this. Then once the picture shows up in the top portion of the interface, then the bottom part of the interface changes, where you have the arrow to go back to the previous screen, so you can take a different picture. Or you have all these filters on the bottom that have some strange, some normal looking pictures to go with each filter. And they have some very normal, like love names, and some very strange names like Mononoke or something like that. I mean, they have a bunch of different really weird names, people's names in some cases. I mean, just strange. They don't really mean anything, and don't worry about it. The main thing is to know that there are 35 of these filters, and a lot of them create some, I mean, actually all of them in many cases create just absolutely spectacular results. And so what you do is, once you see your picture, you click on one of these filter options below by either scrolling left or right, to find the one you want, and then you just simply press on it. When you press on it, it'll show you a little checkbox, and then it's gonna show you a little deal saying that it's working on creating the artwork, and then at the top it will change the picture to show you what it looks like. Okay, and after it shows you what it looks like, then over here you can see it gives you the options to share it, where you can share it to Instagram directly, so they got dual interface, to Facebook, which bombed when I tried it because I have my Facebook disabled. That's probably why it bombed, but I'm sure it works on if you actually use Facebook. I just don't. And then you have this button here, which looks like download. It's actually just save to your phone. So by default, it doesn't save any pictures, even though there is a way to do it in settings. But by default, it doesn't save it unless you click on this button to save. And also the usual share button that brings up normal sharing options, like from any app. And so when you click on one of these filters, then like I said, it comes up with this little triangle at the top, and it starts filling the triangle with this lighter color, and it says creating artwork. This usually takes 3 to 4 seconds. I don't think it usually takes more than that, maybe 5 seconds tops. So they made it so it's really fast now. It used to be really slow. Now it's pretty fast. And so you just wait until it's done and you see the result. And then, so the idea is you take a photo or select existing one, you click on one of the filters, it does its thing, and then you share it. I mean, that's the whole process basically. Okay? And so over here, I clicked on this electric filter, and you can see the wall looks dramatically different after it gets done. And then I can select my sharing options to either save it or share it to, let's say, Instagram. Like this is what happens then. I get to Instagram, it shows me the picture in Instagram, gives me the Instagram's filters at that point, and I can just, this is already Instagram's interface, so it totally ties it in, it works really nice, and you just post it directly to Instagram. And I'm sure Facebook is similar. So here I took another picture, and just wanted to show you that, selecting this mononoke thing, which is one of my favorites, look what it did to the picture. Basically, you have a pretty much black and white almost picture of lights in the bathroom with a mirror, and then you apply this effect to it, and it's a dramatically different look. And of course, each of them actually creates quite dramatically different look. So the idea is, because it only takes a few seconds, you try this one and the next one and the next one. And what also happens is when you try these different ones, even though it doesn't save it necessarily by default, it still already knows what they look like. So it keeps track of them in its own memory. And that way, when you jump back, if you go forward to a filter and then you jump back to a filter you already clicked on, it doesn't take any more time to recalculate. It just immediately shows it to you. So once it does the calculation, it knows it. And then you can jump back and forth easily between different filters once they already did their work and see exactly what the differences are and which one you like, which one you don't like. So there's another variant right there of the lights. And then when you click on share, if you use the share option on the far right, it gives you all the different typical choices on Android sharing. You can share it with a particular person using Hangouts, like here. You can save it. You can save it to Google Drive as a document to Google Drive. You can save it as a messenger deal. You can go to Google Plus. You can go to Instagram this way. I mean, basically, the usual deals that you would normally have would go here. And so there's another filter I applied there to same photo. And then another thing that a lot of people may not know is that you actually have ability to slide your finger, swipe, I should say, left to right on the actual picture itself that it shows at the top of the screen here. And that will enable you to specify the strength of the filter anywhere from 0 degrees, 0%, which is the actual photo I took, the original. For this, doesn't matter which effect it is, it works the same on all the effects. Then if I move forward, you can see this is what it looks like, 54% of the same effect, okay, strength-wise. And then this is at 100%. So I'm going to flip back again just to show you. So this is the original. This is this particular filter at 54%. And this is the same at 100%. So you can see there's definitely the difference between different levels. And of course, you can have 10%, 20%, I mean, any percent you wish. I just did these three just to show as an example. But that's one of the things that, remember, you don't necessarily have to have a full 100%, which is what it shows you when it gets done. You can scale it down to a smaller number, and come up with a different result. One of the great things about this program, I think, is just a phenomenal feature, is that this particular thing, when you, a lot of other programs have used that do filters, if you apply a filter, then pretty much all the pictures look almost the same for that particular filter. It just, you know, that's that filter, it looks the same, there's no surprises. With this thing, different scenes, different photos you take actually look different in terms of the same filter that you apply. So essentially have tremendous amount of both creativity and freedom, and also tremendous capabilities, because it's not just we have these 35 things and that's it. It's almost unlimited possibilities when you start doing it, depending on what kind of picture you take, what it will do with that particular filter or that other filter. And in a lot of cases, some filters, which like this one I was telling you with the weird name, in some cases, some of the photos they took, I don't like the way that particular filter is applied to it. It just doesn't look that good to me. And so it's a situation where it's not a slam dunk. You just apply that filter. My apologies. You apply that filter, and you know, it'll work. It'll look exactly the same for everything. It doesn't. In some cases, it looks awesome. In other cases, not so awesome. And so that's why pretty much this program is a never-ending story, because you take a picture and then you know, look at these different filters, see how it winds up manipulating it, see which ones you like, and if you like them, you save them. If you don't like them, you don't save them. Very cool. I mean, it's just constantly playing with it, constantly having tons of fun with it. I mean, by far the most fun program I've ever played with for photo manipulation. So anyway, let's look at settings for a second before we get done with this part. And in the settings, they have an option called Save Original Photos. And as you can see, if you turn it on, in my case, I turn it on, that means that whatever photo you take with the app, it'll save that before you apply any filters to it. Save artworks automatically, that's something I have turned off, because if you turn it on, it'll have copies of every filter you apply. It'll automatically save it. So you end up with these, you know, a zillion pictures that you may not necessarily like. So initially I had it on, and then I turned it off because I figured the ones I like, once I may click on all of them to see what it looks like, but I only save or share the ones I really like, just to, you know, not have a bunch of stuff I don't like. So that's what this is for. But if you like the concept of just saying, you know, anything I click on, save it automatically, so I have access through Google Photos for sharing and everything else, by all means, turn it on. The watermark simply, allows you to have the little word Prisma, their little logo, on the bottom right corner, which is something that most people probably wouldn't want. But if you want to show off and say that this is Prisma picture, you can stick it on there. And you can rate the app, share it with friends, blah, 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 you know, usual deal. So basically, those are the settings. And it's a outstanding app. I mean, I can't say enough about how cool it is. This was a picture I took this morning of, I just put the word "the end" in this funky font into a regular, you know, Microsoft Notepad, and then I took one of the filters, don't remember which one, and, you know, basically you're creating instant artwork out of nothing, especially for somebody who has two left hands and can't paint worth a damn. I mean, you take somebody like Gina Fidel, who is actually an unbelievably talented artist, and you know, she can create some magic herself. I can't do anything like that. So to me, my answer to at least being able to create something cool art-wise, use some program like this, and this one does a phenomenal job. So that's what I wanted to cover in this. Let's go ahead and move on to the next thing. What was the next thing we're going to talk about? I think we're going to talk about. So, Gina, I hope you liked it. Okay, so the next thing is I want to talk about is the communication piece with Hangouts. So normally, you know, when you're dealing with Google Spaces, you're able to put in, you know, text in there. You're able to put in links. You're able to put in videos, and that works really nice. I mean, it's not completely ready for prime time because they don't have ability to change or delete replies currently. So once you put in a piece of text, you're stuck with it. You can't do anything with it. You can delete whole items, which have item and bunch of replies next to it. You can delete that whole thing, but you cannot delete individual replies or change them in any way, which is a problem. But you know, like I said, that I'm hoping they're going to change it soon. But the thing that was very interesting for me to be able to do is to take and easily create a video for space. And I talked about that before, to be able to communicate with people with videos and video replies going back and forth. So that was one interest I had. And another thing that I wanted to be able to do is do like a Hangout type situation, like Google Hangouts, where you can just go in and quickly jump into a conversation with people. Well, the usual deal with Hangouts is you have to, prep it, you have to invite people. There's all these different things you have to do. There's no spontaneous, which is what I really wanted for this. Spontaneous, just jump in. People are part of the space, know that it's going to be some sort of a meeting or some sort of a conversation happening at a particular date and time. People just gather, they talk, they're done, or have a meeting for business purposes. You have people, 4 or 5 people, whatever, want to gather together and have a quick meeting and just jot their thoughts here and there. It just would be really nice to be able to do from a Google Space. And Mike Downs, one of the also pretty talented YouTube and training gentlemen from Great Britain, whom I've known for a number of years now. Excellent guy. If you want to see some really good, high-quality videos on doing YouTube videos and using different tools and methods and things like that, Mike is your guy. Just check him out. Mike Downs. It's Mike, and then Downes is the gentleman's name. And you can see exactly, he's got a bunch of stuff going on there. But he pointed out that, you can use the application appear.in, which is something that's very easy to use. It's free, doesn't cost anything. You can have a video conference for up to 8 people with a simple link. I mean, that's all you need. They don't need to have any kind of special sign-ons or any special permissions or anything else. They just need to have this link. And there is some rudimentary controls for not allowing bosses to come in, things like that, because you can actually have settings to indicate they hold I don't think they call it knock-knock like Google Allo does, but or maybe they do call it knock-knock. I don't remember. The bottom line is you're able to select an option, and you as the moderator or host of the video conference, you can let people in or not let people in. So it's pretty manageable. It's pretty nicely done. And the beauty of that is because of this one link to start it, it's a very convenient way to do a video conference with up to 8 people. And it doesn't cost anything. And like I said, you don't need anything but a link to get into it. So I try to put in a link to one of these. And also in terms of the room itself, as they call it, for that video conference, the way they set it up is if you actually log in or sign up with them, doesn't obligate you to anything. It's just, you simply give them your email essentially, and your name. I mean, that's all they really want. Then if you do that, then they allow you to have a specific name that's associated with you, and then you can just use that room for yourself anytime you use the same exact URL that way. So in my case, I set up a deal called, using their appear.in URL /PCS-works. That's my room. So now I'm using it for all my stuff, and then people can know it, people can bookmark it, and at the same time, at any point in time, people can easily jump in and have a conversation with me using that particular feature. So I'm not sure if it's going to work right now because of the fact that I'm in another video session here, but let's try it. Let's see. So on my Google Space there, I have the video conference item, and so I'm going to click on it. Let's see if this thing works. Just 1 second. Let me see what it comes up with. So I'm getting into the room. It says connecting to the server. Maybe I should be showing you this thing. Just not sure how it's going to react to. Okay, so it says preparing. Hang on tight. Okay, cool. So now I have a little double feedback going back. Okay, here we go. We got Zara in there. Hey, Zara. All right, so there is there. So I'll let Zara say a few words. Right. I think what we'll do is we're gonna turn. Myself. Okay. Okay. Can you still hear me? Okay. Can you hear me? Okay. Can you hear me? Okay now. Except except with the delay. Yeah. Okay. So we'll stop this. I'm gonna go ahead and stop this. I'm gonna go ahead and stop this. So basically, it wasn't any kind of technical difficulties. It's just the way this thing works. So essentially, what's happening is that when I had my um, microphone turned on my HOA that I'm doing right now, then it's recorded at the delay, and so Zara couldn't hear me immediately, and Vivek couldn't hear me immediately. But when I turned off the mic on my HOA and turned the mic back on the appear end, so initially when both were on, you wind up having both delay and you wind up having echo, which is obviously not good. So I figured I'd turn off the mic on the HOA, which I did, and then Zara could hear me fine in real time because we were on appear end. But what was happening is that you guys couldn't hear me on the main HOA because I turned off my mic on the HOA, so that makes sense that I was muted. Then you couldn't hear anybody else from appear end because you know um, actually you probably could hear them. You just couldn't hear me. That's probably what it was. And then after I tried it the other way, where I would mute the appear end but unmute HOA, then we wind up getting with this delay thing. And so I figured I better quit it. And you saw a little example that was sufficient. So the bottom line is that if you go back to if you use this appear in, a freebie, no problem, set up everything else, then you're able to set up, if you use it in Google Spaces like I was showing you, then you can just set up an item right here with a link to it directly to the room. And then anybody can jump into it at any point by simply clicking on that one item, and it takes them right to that particular room, and then they can do their stuff. I wouldn't recommend doing this like I did with HOA running at the same time being recorded, but if you do it without the HOA, then obviously it'll work just fine, and you can have people come in whenever they can, and you can lock the room so nobody else can come in. As you saw, Vivek came in on his own. Nobody let him in. He just came in because the room was unlocked. But if I lock the room, he'd have to indicate that he wants to come in, and the host would need to allow him to come in. So nice tool. Seems to work pretty well. Quality of video is very good. The pictures can be big, can be smaller. Obviously, if you have 8 people at the same time, pictures will be smaller. So all of that is done really, really well. And definitely, I mean, you don't only have to use it with Google Spaces. You can use it from just about anywhere you wish. I mean, you can set it up as a bookmark on your browser that you can start at any time. You can put it in your website. You can put it on your blog. I mean, you can put it in anywhere. It's just a link. But the beauty of it with Google Spaces is that you're able to have a really quick, simple way to get into a video conference or video meeting with a single click like this by just dropping it in there. And so in my case, as you see, I set up this Google Space where people can participate, and I've got my whole agenda for this particular HOA there. There's the people who are part of it. My PDF document, I wanted to go directly to it from here, so I simply linked it directly from there. Then I have the Gina segment about Prisma. So that was the second thing, which of course was a link to a Google photo album, which I shared so Gina can get into it, and anybody else who wants to see it can get into it to check it out. And then of course the video conference part, and then also I set up a little section for comments and questions to look like this, and then people can put in their replies. And if you look at the replies, you can see that some stuff in there that Vivek put a video, and he put in some text comments, and I replied with some comments, and I replied with a little video as well. So that's all part of this thing. And so if you look at it from a functional standpoint, there's really no other tool I've seen that allows you to do all this in one place like that. I mean, it's really, really slick that you can do this. And we got Kristen saying here she's so bummed. That's cool and stuff. So she couldn't make it, so she just put in her own little item in there. And so it's a little bit of a Wild West, as you can see, because my intent was that all the comments would go strictly into the item called comments. So things are nice and organized. But obviously anybody who's part of this space, because there's no additional moderation capabilities and stuff, allows anybody who is part of who joined this particular space, allows to do whatever they want with it. They can go in and they can delete whole sections like this, these items. They can add their own, like Kristen did and stuff. So it's a little bit of a Wild West situation, but it's still very usable. If you're keeping it to a small number of people that you can trust that they're not going to go and mess it up, then it's already a very, very useful tool, both for business and for some personal stuff, family stuff. Um, but I'm sure they're going to improve it as time goes on, because I think it's got a lot of potential there. With that, I think this is all I wanted to talk about today. If you have any questions, as always, you're welcome to put them in the space if you want, or put them on the event stream there in terms of comments. I'll be happy to answer them. You can contact me on Google Plus. I mean, I'm easily reachable. Let's put it this way. And keep in mind, though, this whole thing with events is going away on September 12th. Google is discontinuing Hangouts on Air, as they are in terms of functionality. So there's not going to be any event pages anymore. The actual HOA recording is going to be initiated from what they call YouTube live events, directly from the YouTube app. So all of that stuff is changing. I talked about it in detail last time. So you can find my other video on this if you haven't seen it. Talks about the details. So we're not going to have it exactly the same way, but I am planning to do more of these, and I am going to have Google Space set up for every one of these Hangouts that I do like this. And of course, there's going to be always this comments area where you can put in whatever comments, questions you want, and it's much richer than just the regular event stream, because it doesn't have to be just replies with text. You can also reply with the video. You can reply with images, things like that. So with that, thank you very much. Until next time, take care.